Welcome back, everybody, to the Anti-Stall Racing IMSA series. It's round 8, the season finale of season 11. We're here at Watkins, Glen for our usual 90-minute season finale. It's become usual. I think we've done it for 4 or 5 seasons now. So it's going to be a very exciting race, especially around Watkins, Glen. First time in a while we've had a fully dry season finale as well. So we're going to get some nice close action the whole way through the race. I'm joined for the first time today by Christian. Alice isn't feeling too well. Christian, what are you expecting today at Watkins Glen? It's a great track for racing and a great track for watching cars in qualifying. What do you think is going to happen?
Hi, okay. Hi, everyone. Hi, George. Yeah, we are in Watkins Glen. This track is quite famous in the international world, especially because of for NASCAR, for IMSA, for all of the American GT series. And it's a track that many think actually delivers a lot of action, especially in the structure of it. It has a good bunch of elevation changes. It has a good amount of odd spots in which you can make overtakes. But at the same time, it's very technical and you have to be precise in your movements. So ultimately, being the last round of the season, many drivers probably will not think about possible repercussions, so maybe going for a bit of a lounge one too many times is going to be possible. But now it's qualifying, 35 minutes for the full qualifying session as Parasha Rodriguez sets the first time lap. And yeah, George, I think we are inbound for a great race.
Yeah, you make a good point. It's the last round of the season. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows this is a great opportunity to take away some big points from the people that are fighting in the championship, especially the people that are fighting for prize money. And they know they're not going to go any further. They're not going to race with these guys, at least not for a while. So they can take some bigger risks. And people will often be in a position where it's kind of overtake and you'll gain a position in the championship or crash and you don't. So there will be some more risky moves than we may be used to usually. Like you said, there's a surprising amount of overtaking opportunities around here for the type of track that it is. Like, there's a lot of high-speed corners where you've got to be really, really precise with where you place a car, but there's also a couple of nice, heavy braking zones that really, really invite some overtakes and some good opportunities for slipstreaming, especially down into turn 1 out of the final corner, and then all the way from turn 1 up until the bus stop chicane is a great opportunity to, even if you can't make a move into the bus stop, but just stay really, really close to your rival. And it really, really helps around here with the racing, and we'll get some proper pack racing. Jeffrey Ross has gone to the top now. Diego Palche Rodriguez, like you said, was the first to set a lap. He's now at 9/10 off of what Jeffrey set, but we always expect Jeffrey to be quick. It's Jeffrey we're watching now, who's pushing on again. He's got 3 purple sectors on this lap to go with the 1 green that he had in sector 2. Let's see what he can do coming towards the end of the lap. To the line, always forget how far down the straight the timing line is here at Watkins Glen, and that's it. Jeffrey Ross not improving in the final sector, but improving overall by half a second. Palcho slots up into 2nd place after his most recent run. So he's getting competitive out there. Diego Palcho, by the way, who's now dropped back down to 4th, is an AM driver, so doing a mega job to be that far up the order in the AM class. Some changes since we were last here to the bus stop chicane as well. You can see those nice bright rainbow almost curbs that we've got, but I think the entry curb on the way in has also had some little sausages added to it. It's a little bit more aggressive to make it so you don't have to quite cut as much, and you can cut, but there's a lot more risk to just getting fired off into a barrier somewhere, which we have seen happen in the past. So may get a little bit of that in today's race as well.
Bus stop is going to be quite an odd spot, especially because it's a multi-class racing action. In the bus stop, even in real life, it's usual that the prototypes have a bit of optimistic values about their racing lines compared to the GT and to the lower class. Ultimately, it's going to be a game of patience, mainly because obviously the prototype has to stay within the movements of the lower classes, because it's the higher class responsibility usually to take a more safe line towards the various corners of the racetrack. And in the bus stop, I fear that with this much traffic and with so many different classes into the racetrack, I hope nothing happens, but I'm sure at the same time that something may happen, especially towards probably the hypercar class and the lower classes. The main struggle possibly is the entry. The entry is a bit narrower compared to the exit. The exit can give you some more play, as you can go to the outside and then cut into the inside, or you can have a more inner line to then throw yourself into the outside because there is a huge curb with a sort of tarmac patch on the outside that can help you in keeping yourself together. But the bus stop, George, certainly is going to be, in my mind, the most interesting spot of the entire circuit.
Yeah, we've seen it go wrong there before, and I'm sure everybody that's raced here has seen it go wrong there before in multi-class. It's so tempting to dive down the inside, especially with the amount of speed that the hypercars or GTPs, whatever you want to call them, can carry through there. And the GT3s can carry an awful lot less, so it really does hurt you if you're in one of those top class cars to get stuck behind a GT3 through there. But at the same time, it's a very difficult spot to overtake and can be very, very risky to send it down the inside. But that's not put these drivers off before, making some risky moves. We're used to that when we've got multi-class, so I think we'll see the same again. In even just racing within your own class, I think, like you said, the bus stop can be really, really exciting. You've got such a long run all the way from turn 1 up to the bus stop that it just opened. It's so easy to get such a good tow and get just enough alongside with the other driver. Even if you're not going to get past them, you're going to put them off and they've got to consider where you are, and you can put them off their line a little bit, which then opens up opportunities on the exit as well. So it's going to be really, really exciting as Jeffrey Ross goes to the top, beats a lap that Leon Erger did, but those two are about half a second clear of Daniel Morphy in the BMW. Is Morphy's teammate that we're watching here, Vincent Ossoms, as Oystein Hereford goes up to P3. Vincent a little bit off the pace at the moment, but normally a lot closer, so I think we'll see him close up a little bit in this session. He went out a little bit off sync with some of the other drivers. A GT3 AM champion is already confirmed. We missed that at the end of last week. The drivers were made aware midweek. But GT3 AM, Ivan Veska will be your champion. It's a little bit more open behind that between Ivan Veska, Diego Palcio, so we'll watch that race. And I think with a good race for Patrick and a bad race for Diego, there could even be opportunity there for Patrick to jump onto the podium. So we will keep an eye on that as we go through the race and towards the end of the race. These drivers still running their reduced fuel tank. Christian, you might not be aware of this, but we run a reduced fuel tank in this series. It's about 45% of the normal tank size. So normally in each class they have to make 2 stops. Sometimes, depending on the track, you can stretch it out to 1 stop. That won't be the case around here. And either way, we've got a 90-minute race here. So drivers will probably have to make 3 stops to get to the end. Maybe some drivers might try and 2-stop it if they're in a really bad position or whatever like that, and they're just trying to do something different. But I think it's going to be really hard with the amount of flat-out sections on this track to save enough fuel to do that. Got a spin for Daniel Morphy. Not sure what happened here. Oh, just those curbs in the bus stop. I think we can go back and just watch that one more time. We're coming a little bit late, but it looks like he goes over the sausages, and that just sends him flying, unfortunately, for Daniel. Currently sits in P3, though. Go on, Christian.
The problem about those curbs is that the initial phase is very close to the wall on the inside, while the second phase, the second curb, is with a slight elevation. So going flat out is always difficult, and some drivers may catch a couple of losses of traction there, especially in the entry compared to the exit.
Yeah, it's really, really difficult, and those curbs will just send you absolutely flying. Shame for Daniel Morphy as well, because he just set the fastest sector 1 of the session before he went and did that. So clearly pushing. Alessandro Vici not improving so far this lap. No, it says he set a purple sector 2, but it must have matched what he'd done previously or something like that, because on my other timing screen it's showing as yellow. But maybe potential in this lap. We'll see as he comes to the line. Highest, well, just sits below the highest place AM driver of Diego Palcio, ahead of him. So we'll be hoping to clear an AM driver in qualifying. That's green flag in LMP2. So these are the last laps for our GT3 drivers, most of whom are already in the pit lane. Jeffrey Ross is going to be the first to the line. Does he improve? Yes, he does at the front. So just stretch that lead out a little bit. Alessandro Vici across the line. Does improve up to P4, which is good for his race. Clears one of the AM drivers and Oysen Hereford in the process. Ivan Veska is still running around in AM, looking to get a little bit closer to Diego Palcio Rodriguez. Can he do that? Comes across the line and it's no improvement, unfortunately, for Ivan. That is it for our GT3 session. Jeffrey Ross will start from pole position ahead of Leon Erger. Then comes Morphy, Vici, Hereford, Rodriguez, Eck, Heck, and Veska. Then Vincent Ossoms finishes out your top 10 ahead of Luca Picardi, Demon Scholten, Nicole Monti, Mick Sayan, Pete Preens, and Patrick Stanek. Now, we're going to see our LMP2s go out and qualify. Only 3 of them today, but Vincent van der Moelenbroek are choosing to jump ship from the GTP category and try out LMP2 for a round. Carlos, also you'll be unsurprised to hear, given his record this season, winning all rounds bar Silverstone, where he lost it to a drive-through penalty that was given at the end of the race for crossing the line with a slowdown penalty. He is now champion. Said you'll be unsurprised to hear that, but he's on the run down into turn 1 to start his first flying lap of the session. Rub up against the inside curb. You can use quite a lot on the exit here without getting the slowdown, but he gets it back onto track quickly. And now all of his run up the hill is going to be flat out. And this is going to be mega at the start of the race when we've got a whole pack coming through here side by side. We've seen it go wrong in the past. It's inevitably going to go wrong at some point today. Hopefully we make it through the first lap there, though, but that is the most treacherous bit. What's he going to do into the bus stop? He's going to fully commit over the curb. The car looks to get a little bit of air. Misses the third apex a little bit, but it's still good speed through there. Vincent van der Moelenbroek a bit quicker through sector 1. Uses all of the the road, I guess, but it's kind of out of track limits, but I don't think iRacing cares on that one, to make the entry into the boot. Now this uphill right-hander is so easy to understeer. It gets more and more off camber as you get towards the outside. It's cambered on the inside, but it quite quickly falls away. Not beaten in Sector 2 by either of the other 2 drivers, Van Moelenbroek and Groneveld, also in this class this week. Another tricky corner here, the hairpin. This is also, once again, slightly off camera, but it's so different to the rest of the track. The car just doesn't want to behave, and he wiggles around a little bit as Van der Moelenbroek beats him in Sector 3. So there's potentially a little bit of a battle here on for pole. Hoyer through the final corner. This pit lane entry is going to be difficult and treacherous in the race, but he makes it through, rubs up against the wall a little bit. It sounded like, at least. Van der Moelenbroek about on the run to the line behind him. Hoyer sets the benchmark. It's a 34.970. What can Vincent do as he comes to the line now? And it's not enough to beat Carlos Bozapoya. In fact, it's a second off. So I wonder if there was a mistake somewhere for Vincent, because it was pretty good sector times. So there must have been 1 or 2 sectors. Yeah, it looks like he lost about 4 tenths in Sector 4 and about half a second in Sector 2. So there must have been a little bit more time lost somewhere else, unfortunately, for Vincent. But I'm sure we'll see him get a little bit closer as he's once again set the fastest Sector 1. Let's see what he does in the bus stop. He's less aggressive on that first curve in the bus stop, but it's smoother, crucially, than what Carlos Bozapoya was doing previously, as Poya now finds time in the second sector. Van der Moelenbroek not using as much of the exit there on the way into the boot. You alluded to it earlier, Christian. This is a very well-known track, and I think this is a track that all of our drivers will know very well. We go to some tracks where there'll be people that maybe haven't raced there as much or have only done 1 or 2 sessions there or whatever, but this is a track that I feel like everybody in iRacing has driven several times, especially with there being a special event that's hosted here, and it's always a very popular round whenever the IMSA series comes here, or any GT3 series as well. So what do you think that's going to make today's race a little bit different, that everybody knows the track so well?
The problem is that there may be overconfidence. Actually, Watkins Glen, once you drive in it, you understand why it's actually very difficult, as The number 19 goes across the line to set a 6.2, so that's 5.2, apologies. So that's still off pole, as Grunwald went over the line with 5.9. So that's a second and a half off the pace, as there is the outlap for Bosa Puya. As I was saying, Watkins Glen could actually bring some drivers into overconfidence. There are a couple of spots on the racetrack that are a bit unconventional, I would say. There is the entire second part of the circuit, the one that's not used in NASCAR championships, because it's downhill. Then there is a hairpin on the right, and that hairpin is actually uphill, so you don't have to brake as if you were downhill for the whole time. This one here, this part is incredible, because here you go downhill, you have to brake, you go to the left, and it's quite normal. But here, you go downhill once more, and you have to brake around 200 meters prior to the corner, and then you go uphill. And this particular section here, some cars and some setups and some drivers actually have very difficult, a lot of difficulties going on the throttle, because your rear end tries to snap off, tries to go on the outside. This one here, on the right-hander, at the end of the boot, also slightly off camber, and this one in particular, the inner side of the corner is actually higher than the outer side. So what happens? Just like you can barely see it, but this whole section here is very difficult. It's basically a roller coaster going up, down, and then up again. And with the corners of camber, you really have to feather on the throttle, as there is the 5.8 from Grunwald, so another slight improvement there. So you really have to put some caution on the throttle. You can't just push it all the way down. You have to kind of play with it, because otherwise the traction just sends you off completely. Especially in those free corners that I mentioned earlier. The problem of having a corner of camber means that if you push too much on the inside, you tend to slip on the outside, and on the outside there is the grass and less traction and the marbles and etc. So all comes down to the control of the driver on their car and on their setup, more than how good your line is. So probably the overconfidence, going back to the root of my entire sentence, may bring some drivers going for an overtake in an odd fashion and ending up with more losses than gains.
Yeah, like you say about that, like you pointed out, there's a lot of grass around. The whole track here doesn't really have any runoff, apart from maybe turn 1 a little bit, and turn 10 I think it'll be. Also has a little bit of runoff, but most of the track is grass and close barriers, which can always end up a little bit interesting in a race, especially coming up from turn 2 and turn 3. We've got that high-speed twisty section with those barriers. If people get overconfident in there, especially maybe with the multi-class, we've got the GTPs trying to lap the GT3s. They might think they've cleared the GT3 when they haven't quite cleared it, and they come back across. This can easily end up quite bad. There's no runoff. If anybody makes a mistake like that, they are going to end up in the barrier, or at least on the grass and out of control. So that is going to be something to watch out for in the race. Vincent found time this lap in sector 1, but has not found any more throughout the rest of the lap. He's going to come to the line now, and we'll see what it is. It's a 36.4 that was actually invalidated, I think, and would not have been an improvement anyway. So he'll be looking to find a little bit more on the second lap of this run, as is Carlos Bozapoya ahead, who's gone green and purple. That's our 2-minute warning for this class before our GTPs get ready to go. We've got an invitational entry in GTP. We'll cover that when we get to it. Vincent not finding time in sector 1 here. Carlos Bozapoya still finding time, so Vincent's going to have to do something big in the second half of his lap. I think he may just squeeze one more in. I'm not sure. It depends when he gets to the line. It's going to be very, very tight if he does. Poya, I think, could do one more. Groneveld will also get one more. Poya's not found any time in the 4th sector, but overall looking for improvement to the line for Carlos Bozapoya, and it is a big improvement to a 34.1, showing us the pace that he normally does at the Anstal Racing IMSA series. little bit of a wiggle there for Vincent as he gets on the power. There's 2 corners left to go.
That corner always triggers a couple of drivers into going into a bit of oversteer as he goes across the line.
No improvement for Vincent, unfortunately, this lap by. And I missed it, but I think... Well, he's pulling over anyway. There we go, that's session over. For Vincent, Carlos Bozapoya also in the pit lane. Ben Gronevel, the only driver that's still out on track off the free. And I'm sure he will be finishing this lap before our GTP drivers get ready to go. As I'm sure they're already queuing up in the pit lane, as that class tends to do so.
I wonder if in this particular sector also the GTPs will try something cheeky, usually as here the 93 goes very much off the racing line, so that's certainly not going to be an improvement, especially for that. As the checker flag waves for the LMP2, the only one on track at the moment. This first sector here could be very important for the GTPs to make overtakes, mainly because it's realistically, apart from the first sector, which is just 2 corners, the first sector has some spaces in which you can move yourself in front of another car, but at the same time it has all those sections of tight corners that you really have to aim very precisely for. And I'm really intrigued by this, because in real life multiple times has been seen how things can go south very quickly, especially with the whole GT3, LMP2 and GTP, which is now the green flag is on. The whole kerfuffle that happens, especially in those sections that really don't give much space. As one of the drivers was clearly in anger because someone else wasn't really starting. But yeah, George, I think we'll see a good pack of racing, especially in the last part of the circuit.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting. That final sector, we alluded to it during Ben's slide as well, is really, really tricky. I think in these hypercars that don't have much grip anyway through low-speed corners, that's going to be interesting to watch, especially at the start of the race on cold tyres. I imagine it's going to be a particularly difficult corner. Speaking of cold tyres in the hypercar, we're going to get a couple of laps of trying to get them up to temperature. That's what we usually see before we start to go flat out. I'm going to try and pronounce the invitational entry's name. I'm inevitably going to get it wrong, so if anybody wants to correct me in the chat, feel free to do so. But we're joined today by Said Plog, who's joined us in the BMW, which is nice to see another BMW on the grid. 3 of them now, 3 Porsches and 1 Cadillac today. Brody Maynard back with us. He missed a couple of rounds this season for various reasons. It's nice to have the ASR Porsche back on the grid. Quinton Verdonk confirmed as our champion in GTP. Cannot be caught by, it would have been Davey anyway, who is not here unfortunately, so can't be caught today. Davide Aceto has got a good chance of stealing away P2 though, given that Davey isn't here, so that's a great opportunity for Davide, and I think he'll probably get a little bit of help from his teammate Federico Sarta. So watch out for that in the race. But this 90-minute race is going to make this into a little bit a race of attrition. Still almost like a 90-minute sprint with the way the drivers are going to be driving and racing. But it is going to be more about surviving and making sure you make it till the end than usual. Playing it safe on the opening laps, and we'll see who does that and see who takes the big risks for people that maybe need to win today. Like Davide Aceto probably needs to, if he wants to have a good chance of jumping Davey. People like that are going to take the big risks on lap 1. People like Quinton are going to take the big risks because the title's already sealed up for Quinton. I'm sure he'd love to take another win to celebrate it, but he will maybe be a little bit more risk-takey than he usually is. Brody Maynard as well, not really fighting for anything given his current championship position, so there's an opportunity there for Brody to maybe fight a little bit harder than he normally would to try and take a win home or a podium. On board here with Federico Sarta, the lead of this pack. can tell the tyres aren't up to temperature because there's a big lift through there, much more so than there will be during the race. All over the curb, just avoids a wall, I think. Right
that
on the
was
limit.
very close to the wall, maybe a bit closer.
A bit too close for comfort, I think. You won't want to be doing that in the race.
I mean, it's obvious the reason for that, especially in qualifying. In qualifying, you can risk some more, as Sartor clearly let us see. As his teammate, David Occhetto, is 9 times off the pace, as Frederick set the BMW in pole with a 2.6. But again, it was the first time lap. I just cut completely the curb. Maybe it was even 4 wheels up in the air for Sartor in the first curb. I think he was very much throwing the car. As a matter of fact, it's already a purple in the second sector there. As we are now also looking at the Porsche there, which is the number...
this is Brody Maynard for number 83.
83, sorry.
I was just trying to catch one of these guys off board going through the bus stop, but we'll have to do that next lap now because they're all running in a pack, as these guys always do. Christine, you won't be too aware of this. They all seem to queue up in the pit lane. They all seem to go out on track in a pack, and then they all seem to get frustrated that they've got cars in front of them on the road. So we'll see what happens as they go on and as they start to space out. Federico Sartor with a purple sector. Mike Frederick's got a couple as well, as does Raymond, has one in sector 4. But these guys are still building tyre temperature on this lap. This third flyer will be the proper push lap for most of these guys, or at least when they can start to push. And it's a little bit wide for Sartor in turn 1, but that's not a track limits violation, I don't believe.
I think he had actually a track limit violation into the bus stop. I thought he was cutting way too much. As a matter of fact, his lap has been deemed as not a valid one, so he's still 7th in the whole qualifying session. His teammate David Occhetto is in 4th. Then we've got Raymond Denier that now set the pole lap with a 1.3, as this is the replay for.
I think that was the off track for Sartor. So
that was the off track, huh?
There was one at the end of the lap, but I think you might be right. I think there might have been one earlier on in the lap as well. The bus stop.
Yeah, especially the first part, he was going into the grass, so probably he may have triggered a bit the track limits there. I wouldn't be surprised if now he performs at the same level, but he has to stay within the limits. And for now, his sectors are not really pointing to a purple lap. Occhetto has the best first sector. Denier was having the best third one. Occhetto still has the first one, and he's just behind his teammate. So realistically, a bit of a slipstream can help. As a matter of fact, the fourth sector, that's a purple, Denier, orange one. So realistically, we could see the number 97 in for the lead of the session as he goes across the line. And Occhetto goes from 4th to 1st. And that's 41.2. And never mind what I said, because now both Denier and Verdonk overtook him. So Denier is 2nd, 41.2, 41.1 for Verdonk in the 204. In the Porsche, very, very little time among the 7 of them. Sartor, the tail end of the pack 6 times away, and Verdonk, the first one. But as you can see, this train of cars, Sartor effectively is the only one without the slipstream. And also, he's the last one of the pack in the timing scoreboard. But Verdonk, 204. Is just narrowly ahead of Denier.
Yeah, very, very tight between Denier and Occhetto, just 1,000 separating those two. Tight between Ploeg and Maynard as well, a little bit further back. And a couple of drivers not finding too much time on this lap. Quinton Verdonk is still improving though. He's green, purple, green according to my iRace control screen. A couple of drivers taking a build lap this time. Brady Maynard, green in every sector so far this lap, as Quinton Verdonk has to navigate a little bit of traffic. Through the final corner, Verdonk will push all the way out to the wall. And the run to the line. Brady Maynard and Mark Frederick both picking up an off track at the start of this lap, unfortunately for them. as does Quinten Verdonk on the start of this lap. So this is now going to be a cool down lap for Quinten Verdonk, I think. Build up a little bit more battery.
He actually improved, so he's now way closer to purple lap set earlier, 41.1, but still second.
See if his driver's a lot more aggressive with the curbs in the bus stop than the other classes were. A lot more downforce on these cars that allows them to be a little bit braver.
Oh, I think that was a dust of some grass being picked up by someone. Couldn't pinpoint who that was. But certainly everyone is pushing. It seems already like a race here. Everyone is trying to get as close as possible, but not too much, otherwise the dirty air could become an issue. There's 2 minutes to go for the GTPs, so 2 laps, effectively 2 laps for the majority, if not all of them.
Yeah, we'll see who's got enough fuel and tyres left and enough charge in their hybrid for 2 push laps, but I think that's going to be the plan for most of them. It's going to be a nice angle through on a corner as they brush up against the wall. Down into turn 1 they go again as Denis goes to the top. No purple sectors in that lap, and our invitational entry, Serge Plo, goes even quicker to the top with 2 purples in that lap. Mark Frederick finds a little bit of time in the final sector, but it's not enough to move himself up the order for position. Is an improvement. So even the drivers that are taking this as a cooldown will still have to push, I think, given where they were when we had the 2-minute warning. Denis, the only driver out there with a green sector so far, as Plo has pulled over and returned to the pit lane, so there will be no more improvement for the pole sitter.
Basically, being the last lap, everyone is going to try something quite different from the usual. So expect some to go off track maybe 1 too many times, just to think about something out of the schemes, out of the ordinary, to try to submit something more, and that's okay. In third place, as Verdonk went third for a very brief time. That's also one of the Porsches in the pits, that's Anti-Stall Racing Porsche in the pits. That was Birdie Maynard. And did they take the flag? No, they didn't. They actually managed to go on for another lap.
I think these 3 drivers, these 3 drivers are the only ones that were able to do another lap, so they're going to push on and do one more. Federico Sarta just went straight on at turn 1 when he realised that he did not have enough time to set another lap. And I think we're done, so I think they've just crashed. Let's try and take a look at what happened.
Ooh, one of the cars just went spin
spin
there,
behind, and Quinten Verdonk went straight on. So what happened to Davide Aceto? He's him here in the Porsche. A little bit brave over the curbs and send him off into the barrier. We're going to have to watch for that in the race as well.
That was what I was saying, that some drivers would have pushed a bit too much just to get something more. Oketo was one of the drivers that tried that some more and found the wall with the rear of his car. Crashing there. Can do it in qualifying, not so much in the race. That's for certain, George.
Quinten Verdonk just took a little bit too much grass and the car just wasn't going to regain control after that. So session over for Quinten as well. So it means we have a pole sitter, and it's our invitational entry. So Plur going to be really upsetting some of our permanent drivers there to go onto not just the front row, but pole position in the BMW. He's got another BMW alongside him, Raymond Denis, Davide Aceto, who's fighting for a big championship position, as we discussed in the build-up to that session. Is in third place ahead of Quinton Verdonk, the reigning champion and the champion for this season. Is in fourth place for the start of the race, and maybe will be willing to take a little bit more risk than some of those around him. Mark Frederick will start in P5 ahead of Brody Maynard and Federico Sata. Struggling in the Cadillac, but Cadillac's not been brilliant all season, so not surprising to see. As we now go to our 5-minute warm-up, and we'll run you through the results in full. So for your final qualifying session of the season, Jeffrey Ross took pole position in GT3 ahead of Erga, Morpy, Vici, Hereford, Pelci, Alicio, Rodriguez, Eck and Heck. And we've had to say that too many times in a row this season. Vesga and Ossoms, that's your top 10, your front 5 rows ahead of then Picardi, Scholten, Monty, Sayan, Preens, Stanek, and Callum Lux not setting a lap time, and I don't believe... oh no, he is now out on track, I think. So we'll be taking part in this session, so just didn't get a lap in qualifying. LMP2 pole position was taken by, unsurprisingly, Carlos Bozapoya ahead of Vincent van der Meulenbroeke and Ben Groneveld. In GTP, your champion for this season, we see a big crash in the background during warm-up, qualified in P4, but Serd Plug, the invitational entry, start on pole position and alongside Raymond Denis and ahead of Davide Aceto. Mark Frederick will start in 5th place ahead of Brody Maynard and Federico Sata. I rushed through that because I'm sure Andy will be running to interrupt us as soon as he possibly can. He usually likes to give the drivers one last reminder of how we start the race here. Probably worth doing given we've got an extra entry in today's session.
You're already investigating something? That was quick.
Very rare that an incident is investigated in warm-up, so I'm not really sure what's happened there. This is the incident, I believe. Well, if this is incident, we're not seeing much. Here we go. Let's take another look. This is what's been flagged. 0x. It was a 0x for Aceto that race controller was assigned. So it might have been earlier on in the lap. I'm not sure who it was that asked for it to be looked at. So we're not going to get to see that, unfortunately. Race control, want to fill us in? Tell us what happened. That'd be nice. Normally listening in some capacity. Pit lane start for Aceto, impeding 204 on 204's lap 4. So that was in qualifying.
97 to 204. So that was Oketon Verdonk.
Yeah, and that's a big... Yeah, that's very bad for Aceto because he, like we said, is fighting for that position in the championship, and he's now going to have to start in the pit lane.
Turn 4, so... Is it the bus stop, turn 4? No, sorry, it's not the bus stop. It's prior to the bus stop. Apologies, that's turn 5. Turn 4 is prior to the bus stop. So that's the uphill section, but I don't recall when it happened.
A weekly reminder for one last time this season. The green flag does not start your race. The green flag... the race will start when your class leader accelerates within the start zone. We ask the LMP2 and GT3 pole sitter to leave roughly a 15 to 20 second gap to the back of the class ahead of you. We ask all 3 of the pole sitters to activate the pit limiter from the entry to turn 11, that is the final corner, until you accelerate in the start zone. Car number 97, that is a hypercar, will be starting from the pit lane for impeding and qualifying. And as a reminder from the briefing, on pit entry you need to keep to the right of the pit entry line into and all the way through turn 11. Aside from that, be aware it's a 90-minute race, not a 60-minute race, so you might have to stop again. And I hope you enjoy, and good luck.
So yeah, that pit lane start for Aceto, like you said, is going to be very painful, especially in that GTP class, because you almost lose out a little bit more from the pit lane start in GTP, because in the other classes you can at least roll to the end of the pit lane normally, but Cheto will lose out maybe a little bit more and will also have to take the pain of maybe overtaking some GT3s and LMP2s on lap 1 of the race, which is never fun and means you lose even more time. He won't give up though. It's a long session, 90 minutes today's race, so that's plenty of opportunity for him to try and make up some ground in the long run, try something a little bit different maybe on strategy. So it's not over till it's over for Davide Cheto. I'm well aware of that. We are now done with warm-up. We're going to get ready to grid up. Let's see if Amy, the wonderful Amy, who's in a stewarding booth, set up a long formation lap here today. So we are going to go the whole way around on the formation. GT3s and LMP2s will probably be like, we don't really care. It's a little bit long, but whatever. The GTPs will be very happy with that long formation lap and allow them to get a little bit more tyre temperature. They will definitely appreciate that. A lot of cars gridded up already, just waiting on the last few. That's Davide Cheto, who was starting in the pit lane, of course. Brody Maynard, Federico Sarta also yet to grid, as is Vincent Ossoms. And that is Vincent Ossoms gridded and Davide Cheto starting in the pit lane. There he is, the Porsche driver who qualified third on the grid. Gonna have to start from the pit lane for impeding.
Only good news for him is that he may be able to survive an eventful lap 1 incident in the GTP class. The bad news is everything else. So he may not survive anything else happening in turn 1. He will have the traffic, he will be behind, and he will be obviously late to the party in the GTP class. So his only hope at this point is to have something happening in the GTP class at the very beginning of the race to try to clinch some more places or even to get back into the podium position, which at this point I find it difficult, but could happen. Realistically, his race will be a comeback run, and going to be my one to watch, certainly in the GTP, especially because he has to do the whole work from behind the curtains.
Sorry, I didn't catch that last bit. Is it you? What?
Mark Frederick with some sort of...
normal that I'm in P3 right now, or is it my computer that bugs out right now?
Yeah, so because Davide is in the pit lane, you have been, you basically moved forward. So everyone in the odd side of the grid will have moved forward one place to sort of fill that gap. Correct piece of the grid, yeah.
Mark Frederick just surprised that he managed to qualify 5th, but is starting 3rd, and that is the nature of a rolling start. That the whole line moves forwards, which is exactly what has happened here to Mark Frederick, who will start 3rd now instead of the 5th that he qualified. Will still take the points home for P5 in qualifying. We'll get to start the race a little bit further up with a little bit more clean air in front of him, which will be much appreciated as our GTP drivers are doing their usual weaving to try and get a little bit more tyre temperature. Said in his first GTP and first ever Ansel Racing IMSA Series race, not just in this class, but first ever. I've just now realised his teammate Quinton Verdonk. May get some teammate strategies here. It should be first time Quinton's been able to do that for a while in the Ansel Racing IMSA Series. Our GT3s are just coming into the boot now. Our LMP2s are about halfway between the GTPs and the GT3s. And we are going to get ready to go rolling here. Davide Cheto in the pit lane, of course, Keep an eye on where he slots out. Said might be unfamiliar with the starting procedure here. I'm sure Bogue will realise what's going on pretty quickly. Probably had to nip back and check how it works. Check the notes once again. 2 BMWs on the front row with another one behind and a Porsche just alongside. And for the final time this season, we're getting ready to go racing. Pit limiter on for the front row. Into the start zone now, and Said goes early in the start zone and gets a mega jump down into turn 1. We're going to move down the inside there for Raymond Denit, who maintains P2 with a strong braking manoeuvre. Go back to GTP. I thought we were a little bit closer to going green. We're all single file up the hill, which is great to see in GTP. We're going to get any toes up the straight. Yes, we are. Brody Maynard is looking to make a move on Mark Frederick. Can't make it work, and the Cadillac behind with a strong send, but he can't make it work. Brody Maynard has the racing line and will stay ahead. Carlos Bozapoya leads down into turn 1, perhaps unsurprisingly. We're side by side behind with a great start from Ben Gronevel, and crucially for Davide Aceto, he's a long way behind the race leaders, but he's only come out just behind the LMP2s and will not have to worry about the GT3 traffic, as he's already cleared 2 of these guys and he's just got 1 more to deal with. Jeffrey Ross has taken the green light into turn 1. Now he goes in GT3, but we're side by side behind. And it's all well behaved through turn 1. We've just got the run up the hill to worry about, which is normally where the chaos comes in, but are we going to make it through all right? We're single file towards the back, which is great. 2 wide still out front. Van der Meulenbroek on the radio about something. I'm not sure what that was. Oyster Herford's trying to make it 3 wide in GT3 here, and he thinks better of it. Backs out at BMW, strong on the brakes and gets to the apex well, and will take the position away. We're bumping behind, and that's Dave Van Eck and Raphael Heck going at it in the Aston Martin, and the Porsche just behind it. And I believe Callum Lux is off in the back. Yes, he is. Let's take a look at what happened to Callum. I think it's going to be these curbs, Christian, that have been catching people out.
Yeah, usually the bus stop would... Ooh, yeah, the trigger was definitely that one. Into the wall. Suspension damage is certainly aero damage, and for Lux that's going to be an uphill race for certain, as the German driver has to keep on going with a bit of a butcher car. Meanwhile, in GTP, apparently everything seems quite calm at the moment. Plug is still ahead of Denis Verdonk, third with Frederick very close to his opponent. In fourth, then we've got Maynard Starter and Oketo that follows a very long way behind after this pit lane start. But at the moment, situation in GTP remains quite calm. I can say the same about what happens.
Oh, there is a contact!
Oh, and there's a crash, and the car is nearly into the wall. That was Devin Boone nearly crashing into the Mercedes that lost 1, 2, maybe 3 places as a hack. And the Mercedes of what I think it was Palacio Rodriguez, yes, number 22 of Palacio Rodriguez, the Spanish driver, was nearly into the wall of the last corner. As there is a side-by-side up there into the GT3 field, I think that's possibly the position changing between... I couldn't see which cars.
Well, this is now Tiemann Scholten that we're watching here, who's trying to get past Ivan Veska. He's got the car of Paucho Rodriguez behind as well. This is the battle for the lead now. We've got less than a third of a second separating, and Ivan Veska makes a mistake on the way in, and that allows Scholten to get through, and that's going to give Paucho Rodriguez a good run, who just manages to hang on Ivan Veska ahead of Rodriguez. And that was Rodriguez who got tapped by Heck, and I think that actually cost him the lead in class. So we heard Heck on the radio to apologise, but I don't think he's going to be very happy, and Vincent van der Meulenbroek has been off. What has happened to Vincent?
LMP2 driver didn't have a front end anymore, so probably something into the wall for the Dutch League Racing driver. Into the grass. Oh, that's a jump, and that's a whole front end going away with also suspension gone, so that's probably a DNF for the car number 19. Here, meanwhile, into the GT3 field, we just witnessed a couple of seconds ago the battle for the lead in GT3 IM. That was between Scholten and Veska, as Veska is trying to defend against Palacio Rodriguez in the number 22 Mercedes. But also there is Alessandro Vicky. Oh, into the wall is!
Yeah, Vicky into the wall in the background. Let's take a look how that happened.
He was in, I think he was in 4th place or even further. I saw him dropping over. He was in 4th, as you can clearly see from here. For the DSP Esports Racing team, he just lost the rear, and the rear went into the wall, and effectively, that could be race over for him as he had to wait for everybody else to pass through, and the Italian, unfortunately, will have to give up his place to everybody else behind him. So now Van Heck, Dave Van Heck is in 4th, as here the battle for position still goes on for first in IM class with Scholten, Vesca, and Palacio Rodriguez after the other in single file. And you can see behind, there is a GTP coming through. I think that was one of the GTPs, that was Quinten Verdonk in 3rd coming across. And behind him, it is Mark Frederick, George.
Yeah, these two absolutely going at it, even in the traffic. Just 310 separates them now. It was less a few moments ago, and they're going to make their way through. I'm hoping that they don't break up that lead battle in AM too much when the GTPs come through, because that was a great little battle we had on. But it looks like Vesca's managed to pull about half a second out on the other cars, but I don't think that's going to last as the GTP swings in front of him there. Actually, that's an AM lead battle now back on our screen. Quinten Verdonk manages to find a gap. Instant is under investigation as Verdonk tries to find a way down the inside of Vesca and ends up on the grass doing so. Mark Frederick round the outside of Diego Palcio Rodriguez, and then that's going to open up an opportunity for Brody Maynard behind, who's had a smoother run through that traffic. Vincent van der Moelenbroek has used his one fast repair. Remember, one fast repair in this series for each car in case of any sort of multi-class incidents. It's kind of like a get-out-of-jail-free token, but he's used that now and he's back out on track after having to tow to the pit lane, and these three are going to battle all the way up the hill, I fear. Palcio Rodriguez is already right on the back of Ivan Vesca once again, but Vesca's dropped away a little bit from Scholten, so maybe won't be getting the tow to help protect him as much. As crucially for Verdonk, he maintains the lead in this three-way battle for the podium. Palcio Rodriguez still pressuring Vesca. Alessandro Vici in the pit lane for those repairs now. Vincent van der Moelenbroek back into the pit lane. What's happened to Vincent? I think that was he drove into the pit lane, potentially. Let's take a look what happened.
No, that was the car into the wall.
Yeah, he
that we saw earlier. Oh, need a contact between the Mercedes and the Lamborghini driver. And that was Ivan Vesca. Battle against Spanish drivers for Go Esports number 33 ahead of the number 22, and Vesca has to defend very, very hard against Palacio Rodriguez, even because now Luca Picardi in the BMW behind in the gold and black accents with some white in the middle. Very nice livery, that one there, by the way. He is also into the battle for 2nd place. And the Italian for DSP Esports Racing team also set the fastest GT3 IM lap time with a 23.566. It was even quicker than the leader up front. It just is, I think 2 seconds, yes, in total. It is 2 seconds, the gap between Scholten and Picardi. So effectively, this is all of a sudden a battle for the lead for Picardi that early on was very much gapped for the top 3, as now Mixien is also trying an attack into the bus stop. He tries in his Aston Martin vantage, and it was very close, especially for the BMW that nearly went into the grass. But ultimately, it's going to be the Dutch driver that sets the bar upper, and that's 5th place for Mick Sehen, as Patrick Sanik in the BMW behind us to maybe try an attack, but that doesn't happen. Meanwhile, 963 has a 10-second penalty for causing a collision. That is Rafael
Heck, I believe, who went into the back of Palcio Rodriguez. We saw that in the final corner. And that is what cost Pacho Rodriguez the lead. So he'll be pleased to see a penalty for the other driver, but it doesn't change the position he's in right now, which looks like bump drafting a Lamborghini through the boot and up the hill. And these three just as close as ever, and they have gained ever so slightly on the race leader during this lap. So if they carry on doing what they're doing, they're working together to try and close in on the overall lead. Pacho Rodriguez with a good run through the final corner. Can he pressure Ivan Veska into turn 1? They don't want to lose too much time fighting though. Rodriguez with a really good run here. This is the closest he's been for a while, just a 10.5 back, as Ivan Veska even feels a need to go defensive. Rodriguez moves back to the outside, Veska moves back to the outside.
Yellow flag.
I think Daniel Morphy just has been briefly off. I can't see what happened, but he has picked up a slowdown. Try and find that. That is the wrong car. This is Daniel Morphy.
Or just
cuts across the grass, yeah. I think that's a smart play there, though, to just take the slow down and not try and over-rotate the car. It's an easy way to find the barrier quickly.
Oh, Picard is now very close to Palacio Rodriguez. Look at this. Now the BMW is extremely close to Palacio Rodriguez. Remember that Picardi still has the purple lap in his own class. And realistically, we could see this fight going on for a while, but the more important thing is that Schulte now has a 2.2 seconds gap to the whole group here in second, third and fourth, as this was a replay of an hypothetical attack for the DSP Esports, but that didn't happen for Picardi, that still is in fourth.
And looks like Ivan Veska's maybe made a small mistake at the end of this lap, because Rodriguez is now right on the back of him and Veska's dropped away a little bit from the race leader.
Yeah, last lap it was a 4.1, 4.1, 4.2. So ultimately they all had the same lap time, so effectively the Lamborghini is slowing down this group a tiny bit, ever so slightly, as Rafael Heck gets fifth, but he has a penalty, so ultimately it doesn't really count in the standings, as we still stay here. In the bus stop they go, nothing to report. They still remain in single file, although the Italian in fourth lost some ground to the two Spanish drivers ahead of him, and that is probably a tactic, knowing that these two could fight and open up a window for him to attack further. And it's now Palacio Rodriguez thinks about a different line, outside to inside. That could work, yes, theoretically, but as you can see, oh, he just lost the rear into the grass. He goes a tiny bit, and this leaves some room for Picardi to maybe try and attack at the end of the boot, although it doesn't seem plausible, as he's very much gapped from the car in front, George. And I'm not sure about your predictions here, but I really sense that the Lamborghini will defend as much as possible, but at the very end of the race we might see one of the two here, either the Mercedes or the BMW, in second or third.
Well, Ivan Veska and Diego Pacho Rodriguez are separated by just 70 points in the championship, so Veska will want to keep Pacho behind him for as long as he can and try and prevent him being able to challenge for the lead. There's a yellow flag in the GT lead, and I think Jeffrey Ross has made a mistake. Yes, he has. This is how Leon Erger got through. Oh, Ross with a little bit of a slide through turn 1. Let's see if we can try and get a replay of that in particular. This is Jeffrey Ross. We'll see a little bit better here. Just letting the rear end get a little bit loose. Managed to hold on to it. Could have been a lot worse, but that cost him the race lead. And he picked up a slowdown, which has allowed Leon Erger to pull nearly a second away in the lead. And actually, right now, you'd have to say Daniel Morphy is looking more like a threat to Jeffrey Ross than Jeffrey Ross is looking like to Leon.
True, but you have to consider that Ross was ahead the whole time and probably was trying to be a bit safer. That clearly wasn't the case into turn 1, and now he is about to defend second place, but realistically I think he will try to get back into the battle for first. Realistically his car can be there, as we saw until now, and we will see for the next 75 minutes as Airfield is trying to battle. Oh, there's a contact! And
Bit of a block there.
With the Norwegian that in the FX simulations tries whatever is possible to gain the position into 5th place. Remember, Rafalek has also a penalty, so ultimately this is just a physical overtake, not an effective overtake. The position is already in the Ferrari's hands, but you can see that Aston Martin trying to defend as hard as possible.
Oh, contact! Oyston Hereford into the wall. He lost a rear wing from the contact with the other car, and that sent him spinning out. Let's take another look at that.
Way too aggressive for the Aston Martin, defending a position that was literally impossible to defend considering he already lost it. And still, maybe the Ferrari was a bit too optimistic there. Yeah, that's also possible. Couldn't see from that particular view, but that's the Ferrari's game over. And so another position gained by everybody else, including Alessandro Vicky, who is still in the race.
Oh, side by side, Nicole Monti. This is side by side between an AM and a pro car.
Exactly. So realistically this is not for position per se, but that's still a physical overtake as Nicola Monti in the DSP Esport Racing team loses the physical position on track on the 198. There should be Patrick Stanek, I think it is.
Yeah.
Also in 6th place. But effectively it doesn't really change the standings in class. Meanwhile here, Quinter Verdonk still trying to create a gap to Mark Frederick, who is still in 4th, and he has been in 4th for the whole time, but he never really put an attack on the Porsche ahead. The BMW driver in the AHR Sim Team livery could try something, but again, he didn't really find a window for possible attack to happen. Probably he could wait for the pit stop to happen. Maybe an undercut could go forward for his plan, considering the GTPs have some more struggle compared to the GTs into making overtakes. So Giorgio, I think maybe an undercut on overcut. Oh, that's a wall. Another cut on overcut could change the order here in 4th place.
Yeah, I think there's definitely potential to try and do something a little bit different with strategy. I'd also say that to Diego Palche Rodriguez and Luca Picardi, who seem to now be losing quite a lot of time to Team Scholten as he continues to push on, and Ivan Veska seems to be corking the bottle a little bit. So maybe Diego Palcio and Luca Picardi can try something a little bit different on strategy. Maybe they'll try and undercut Ivan Veska, because they'll only need one good lap given how close they are to the car in front to undercut or to overcut. But they maybe want to try something a little bit different to Ivan Veska in this session.
So Callum Luxer was in the pits once again early on, so probably he decided to go into the pits now for his strategy stop to also repair the car, and now he is in 7th, just 13 seconds ahead of Alessandro Vicky, who also had damage in his car and also pitted already. So that will be an evolving race for those two. In the meantime, Rafalek still loses 1 place as Nicola Monti is at least 10 seconds behind him. Matter of fact, Rafalek is into the pits just now, and he will lose the position on Monti, who automatically and effectively now jumps ahead of him. Purple lap for Palacio Rodriguez, speaking of which, and that's 43.3 for Palacio Rodriguez compared to the 43.3 for Vesca, but I think that was an off track. It was actually quicker, but not a purple, so I guess that was an off track for Vesca. Another gap from Scholten to Vesca went from 3 seconds to 2.6, so George, you are correct. The battle is still going on, but Palacio Rodriguez has to think about something different because they are losing some time, or at the very least, Scholten is way calmer than these two, for a position.
Yeah, I think they need to start thinking about it. They're really struggling to overtake. This is the closest that Palcio has been for a while, so maybe he'll be able to try something a little bit different this lap to try and make the move stick, but he just seems to be about a tenth too far at the end of the straight and not able to gain enough in the toe. As the GTP field coming through now, it's going to maybe liven this one up a little bit. We've got GTP, LMP2 and GT3 on your screen all at once here. Oh, and BMW coming through on the Lamborghini there, and that's a change of position ahead in GTP. Side by side, still on the exit. Mark Frederick is giving no room, and he's going to pinch Quinton Verdonk in behind the LMP2, but Verdonk sweeps back around the outside. Wow, what a little battle there we had. And Mark Frederick with a mega exit there, it looks like, coming onto the main straight. And he pulls out behind the LMP2 to get back into the slipstream and can't make a move here. But is there going to be an opportunity to use this GC3 potentially to try and make a move? It's going to be the closest that Frederick has been surely into the bus stop. Arguably the best overtaking opportunity of the lap. He's within a tenth now of the Porsche head. The Porsche knows to defend the inside. Frederick's going to go to the outside. He knows that he's not going to get the move done that way, but he can get a better entry, and he can. And he's out, and he's ahead of Quinton Verdonk on the exit of the bus stop chicane. What a move there for Mark Frederick. You never see a move done mid-chicane. That was a mega overtake. Let's take another look at the whole battle. This is how it started with the GT3s. There's almost contact there. Mark Frederick had the inside line into the hairpin, and that pretty much allowed him to be ahead on the exit. But he just got a little bit squirmy, and Quinton Verdonk got a good exit. And Quinton Verdonk with this mega late on the brakes and just sweeps around the outside of Mark Frederick. Probably thought he'd got the deal done, but then just washed a little bit wide in the final corner. Frederick able to stay in touch. Into turn one. GT3 not really actually changing this one too much, you wouldn't have thought, with the position of that car. But Mark Frederick was just able to stay pinned to the back. It's so difficult to do that, Christian, isn't it? In these high downforce cars, to stay that close to somebody. And absolutely mega job.
You also have to think about the track evolution, and effectively these cars are very aerodynamic prone, as you can see here. Also the mistake that has been done by the Porsche driver that ultimately set the BMW in third. By having so much in the aero department compared to... Oh, that's a lot of smoke. I think
that's a lock-up on pit entry, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. With the fact that these cars can really put the moves wherever they want, and overtaking outside is highly possible with the GTPs. In the meantime, speaking of less aerodynamically prone cars, we've got a battle in GT. There is a contact, and the Mercedes is still on the outside. The Lamborghini went on for a defensive move, maybe into the grass. He doesn't actually. He remains in front of the Mercedes-Benz. Palacio Rodriguez for Penor competition is still in second now, as the leader went into the pits. That's Tim Scholten in the BMW now out of the pits, but 32 seconds behind. But these two are effectively still battling for the lead, as now Luca Picardi on ground. He's already a second behind the duo, fighting for what is now second place, but effectively could become first if the pit goes through in a regular manner. Meanwhile, that was the Porsche driver. That was Quinton Verdonk still trying to get the attack in front of... no, apologies, that's...
Brody Maynard, because these two are pitted, and I think Mark Frederick must have just had a slightly slower stop than Maynard, because he's closed up quite a bit there, but Quinton Verdonk is now in the pit lane ahead, so we'll see where those two come out. I think Tiemann Scholten has had an incident now. This is Callum Lux. This is Tiemann Scholten, and that is Tiemann Scholten. Weaving on pit exit. This was your leader in AM, remember?
What happened to the Dutch driver? Number 23?
Oh no, this was... Tiemann Scholten was racing in Pro, sorry, but he... spun exit. Wow.
Oh, that's a car with a lot of damage to cold tires. The rear end is not there anymore. But yeah, you are correct. I'm not really understanding why Maynard is so close to Frederick now. That's why I was confused. The delivery is pretty much it's pretty similar between Verdonk and Maynard. And I thought it was still a battle between those two, but actually Maynard is now fighting with Frederick.
Yeah, and actually
And
Verdonk has come
Verdonk-
out 3 seconds ahead of these two,
Yeah,
so
3 seconds ahead.
yeah, I think it
Certainly
must
there
have
was
just
a
been a
mistake
slow
for,
stop or a slow entry for Frederick, maybe.
Maybe the lockup was maybe for the GTP
Oh,
driver.
Vesca and
is it?
Rodriguez side by side on pit exit. We're going to have to take another look at that because it looked like there was contact. Let's take a look what happened there.
Side by side.
Ooh, Rodriguez quicker off the limit. Vesca with the inside line says, no, you're not coming through. Slams the door shut. And they're back out on track racing. Monty and Stanek back at it. Stanek still ahead of Monty. Sorry, Tiemann Scholten was in IMSA. Tiemann Scholten was leading the race when he had that spin. I was correct the first time round. Which essentially means Ivan Vesca is now your race leader. And there must have been a mistake for Rodriguez because he's now behind Picardi. What on earth happened there? Let's take a look. He was just deep. That allowed him to get side by side. Luca Picardi cuts back and gets alongside the AMG car again. And he's ahead by the time they get to the braking zone. What a miserable couple of laps for Diego Palciol Rodriguez, who arguably should have been leading this race for a long time ago and then should have been running second at worst now and is down to third. To make it even worse, he's got a pro car in between him and the car ahead now. Carlos Bezopoya comes into the pits from the lead in GT in LMP2. Third Plogue still leading in GTP by 4 seconds now over Raymond Denny, the invitational entry. Putting on a show, he will technically take the win, but he won't take the points for the win. That's worth remembering that he will be removed from the points calculation at the end of the race by race control. So Raymond Denny on track for race winner points. Will obviously want to win on track if possible. Luca Picardi is under threat here from the pro driver of Callum Lux, who sneaks ahead of him, but he won't worry about that one too much as long as he doesn't lose any time behind the Aston Martin. And Ivan Vesca doing a nice job out front. He's still stretching out that lead actually. It's now 1.7 seconds.
The battle currently on track is also the one for GTP with Mark Frederick and Brody Minor that is managing to keep the pace with the car up front. And effectively, there is also the battle in GT3 Pro, so both of those battles are on the same time frame, 6 times, 8 times more or less, with Brody Minor that is finding himself battling for 4th all of a sudden. Probably it was a bit of a slow stop for Frederick, as you said, George, but could also be a mistake with cold tires. We didn't really see that. As also for anti-stall racing, this could eventually become an opportunity for a podium. Quinten Verdonk is not really that far ahead. 3.7 seconds are it's not a huge gap, 3.7 seconds to cover in about an hour time. Last lap it was 3.1 for both drivers, with Verdonk that just gained a couple of times too, and Luca Picardi is minded. I think I glitched because I saw for a moment different different flag on the name. Anyway, Nicola Monti here, battling for physical position, I think, with the 198. That's Patrick Stanek.
Stanek still. These two have been going at it for a fair few laps now, and Monty, I think, getting a little bit more frustrated now behind the AM driver. He wants to come through.
Yeah, realistically, the battle is in first and second in GT3 Pro, as only 6 times are gapping Morphy and the leader. As you can see here, Daniel Morphy in the number 24 Red Eagle Racing, in the bus of just following Jeffrey Ross, who, remember, had a bit of a moment to number 1, losing the rear end of the race car, but now he finds himself back into the lead. Daniel Morphy is just there, only 3.5 times now. Anything could happen here, especially in the boot. But again, lots of battles going on track. There's also the one, the usual one in the GT3 AM. Time will tell which one will happen and will uncover itself first. George, who do you think will be the first to make a move?
I think we're more likely to see a move from Rodriguez, but I would have thought that a long time ago as well, and he's managed to not pull it off. We'll keep an eye on both of the gaps. Daniel Morphy closer right now, but it seems to swing depending on where they are on track. But Morphy has made a bit of an impression this lap. I don't know if it's the way that the traffic's come through, but he's now in a position where actually I think he's going to be able to threaten Ross. And we saw Ross make that mistake into turn 1 last time he was under pressure, and that'll be weighing on his mind, so we'll want to avoid something like that, but it's definitely a risk he'll need to consider. Leon Erger pretty close behind these two as well. Does Ross make it through
second
turn
gain
1?
is just a lap. 42.5 for Erger, 43.0 and 43.1 for respectively Morphy and Ross. Effectively, Morphy gained some time to Ross, but ultimately Erger is the one that is having the best second stint out of the 3, as now the gap between Erger and Ross is a second point 2. Early on it was way bigger. It was around 2 plus seconds. So this is actually a freeway battle for the lead at the moment. I can safely say that. The question is that if Erger can get himself some more gap getting... Meanwhile here, what's...
This is Callum Lux passing Ivan Vesga, not for position, well, for overall position, but Vesga will obviously stay in the lead in AM, and that's what matters to him. But we'll have lost a little bit of time dealing with that, and actually, now Luca Picardi is just half a second behind Vesga, so Vesga not with a very good lap at all, and is once again under threat, having been 2 seconds in the lead only a few laps ago.
But we know there are 2 different battles going on in 2 different classes. Or maybe there is a slight tap there into the final part of the circuit, but Daniel Morphy remains close but clean at the moment. As you can see, the Porsche head is only 2 times ahead. It's roughly 10-15 meters from the number 24's cockpit. Oh, that was a brush into the wall for Jeffrey Ross, and at the end of the lap, it's going to be I think a gain. Yes, it is a slight gain for Morphy, but more importantly, look at the gap there. It is now 6 times only because Erger set a 2.5, effectively a 2.6 compared to Morphy's 2.8, nearly flat, so 2 times and change gained for Leon Erger. Meanwhile here, Diego Palacio Rodriguez for Penor Competición is just behind Luca Picardi.
That's a good run for Rodriguez through the final corner. He's going to be a threat into turn 1, I think. He thinks better of it. But it's going to be interesting up the hill if he can get a good exit, and I think he will get a good exit. Yeah, he did. Look, he's already gaining. They both lost out to Vesga through turn 1, though. Leon Erger nearly within half a second of Daniel Morphy. Is there a move on? Rodriguez just doesn't seem to have the straight line speed to threaten the cars ahead into the buzz stop, which has been his problem in this race. I think he needs to come up with an alternative plan here and maybe try and do something a little bit different in strategy to try and make the move viable. Monty and Stanek still going at it, as they have been for many, many laps now. Verdonk and Stanek. Incident is under investigation. There's been a contact here. Let's take a look at what happened. Oh, he just clipped the end of it there. And actually, it looks like a little bit of bodywork. Yeah, the rear bumper from the BMW is gone. It was a pretty difficult angle to see what happened. Let's take a look from here. Apologies. We will take one more look at that one. There we go. Watch the hypercar and watch that BMW rear end. And Verdonk just running into the back of him, actually, there, it looks like. And you'll more be close, but not close enough. Rodriguez once again very close coming up the hill, but Vesca giving enough of a tow, I think, to Picardi, but it's going to save Picardi here. Could get interesting with Mark Frederick just behind, who'll be the next car to come through. We're on the outside of the Mercedes. Upset the rhythm of Rodriguez a little bit, but is he going to upset the cars in front even more? Say it was alright for both of those cars. These three absolutely glued together. We thought this might happen pre-race. We discussed how the slipstream will keep everyone in touch and create some great racing as the BMW has a look on the Lamborghini ahead. Can't make the move work. He was trying to use the GTP making its way through as an opportunity to make something happen for himself, but he couldn't pull that one off. Daniel Morphy probably closer than he's been. Can he make a move work into the bus stop? No, he's just a little bit too far back from the Porsche driver. He's going to keep the pressure on, though. That's going to be the key to an overtake, I think, here today. And he gets a great exit. In fact, he's got his nose down the inside of the Porsche. This is going to be a move for the lead. He's momentarily ahead, but Jeffrey Ross can take a wider line and carry a bit more speed. He's not going to give it up easily, though. But Jeffrey Ross retakes the lead. I think we've had contact. We have had contact between...
Oh, the lead is changed again in GT3 Pro. Jeffrey Ross is back into the lead, and that's now the Porsche going downhill into the boot. So number 15 now has another chance at defending, and the BMW behind Daniel Moore has to attack once again, as also Palacio Rodriguez managed to change his own position with Luca Picardi all the time.
Yeah, these
and number 22 jumps into second.
These two had two lots of contact. This one is under investigation. Oh no, this is contact with Federico Sartas over Cadillac. Did he just run into the back of him? I think we missed that one. Let's pay a little bit more attention. Oh, squeezed in between the GT3 and the wall. That was what happened. Didn't understand why that's under investigation. So this was contact between the GT3 drivers. And that is a brilliant camera angle. And there was contact there, though. Let's take another look. Algio on the inside. Well, looks like he wasn't really given much room by the BMW, who was pushed out wide.
At the same time, the Mercedes was actually pushing the boundaries there a tiny bit too much, in my opinion. He, in the number 22, he went a bit, as a matter of fact, he's already under investigation. Probably went a bit too confident in himself, pretending some space that simply wasn't there. And then contact happened, and this was Daniel Morphy and the Porsche driver that exchanged positions with the Porsche on the outside, ready to go racing in the BMW number 24, and the Porsche driver number 15 that managed to keep the lead of the class position. But obviously, the battle still isn't over. Now it's a freeway fighting for first. And speaking of which, now it's only... Oh, that's Morphy.
Oh, he's alongside. He's got the inside line here as well. This is going to open up an opportunity, surely. I mean, Jeffrey Ross is going to try and carry as much speed as he can around the outside. But the BMW has done a great job there. Jeffrey Ross now has the inside line in for the final corner. But the BMW crucially sweeps ahead. And the Aston Martin here, is this going to go from bad to worse for Jeffrey Ross, who's going to go from the lead down to third place in less than half a lap? And I think it's going to be pretty bad news for Daniel Morby because Leon Erger looks like he's absolutely on it today, and I think he may have an opportunity to try and get the lead into the bus stop. This is the closest anyone's been on the run up the hill, and he's pulled out maybe a little bit too early, but can he use that momentum to get ahead before they get to the braking zone? He's on that outside line, which has been difficult all day. We've got a GTP approaching behind, and they go side by side into the bus stop. Daniel Morby has to hit the brakes, and Leon Erger goes from third to the lead in half a lap around Watkins Glen. What a lap there for Leon Erger. To do that and get the job done is absolutely brilliant. Alcio Rodriguez as well, now that he's cleared Picardi, is all over the back of Vesga once again. And he's going to get the move done, is he? Because it's a mistake from Vesga. There's contract. Vesga goes spinning out. Vesga is on the radio to campaign, and that's allowed Picardi to get back into the lead around the outside of the Mercedes. Can he make it stick? Yes, he can. What a lap we've just had there. We're going to have to re-review that one. Let's take a look at this. That's the wrong card to be looking at. Here we go. So there was bumping before they even got there. Then Vesga went deep, and then he just came back on into the Mercedes. It is under investigation. That second bit of contact, I don't think there's much they can do between the Mercedes and the BMW. But Diego will be frustrated because I think he found it harder to get past Picardi than he did to get past Vesga. And now he's going to have to get that difficult job done again. Jeffrey Ross, by the way, is falling away from Daniel Morby, who is just about staying in touch with Leon Erger. What did you think of that one, Christian? What a crazy lap we just had.
Everything unfolded quite quickly, and with also a couple of contacts that went along the way. We lost the Lamborghini, which is now in fourth, as even Vesga will have to gain again, as the Mercedes is now trying to get the lead out of the Italian driver. Luca Picardi in the lead in the gold and white livery. As you can see, Diego Palacio Rodriguez still battling for that position, as behind them there is a... Okay, no, DPI, sorry.
Carlos Bozapoya made a smart decision there to not make it through wide.
That's LMP2, and effectively tried to bump draft the Mercedes a tiny bit, but ultimately it was a bit of an incomprehension between the two, and Palacio Rodriguez ended up losing some more time than what he thought. And the Italian can leave another turn at least, still in the lead. Only 3 times between the two, but Palacio Rodriguez is not really taking out anything there, and Palacio Rodriguez is probably going to turn attack once again. Ultimately, the pit stop phase is also closed, so different tactic could be the idea there for Palacio Rodriguez to make a move in front of Picardi. As it stands, the Italian defends well, and is certainly trying to bring home the trophy, the big one, the first place prize. But at the same time, also the battle in GT3 Pro is happening, so it's going to be a battle of who makes the move first. In this particular case, it's going to be some bump draft for Palacio Rodriguez that now dives into the inside, into turn 1, with the Spanish driver on the wheel of the Penal Competition that goes a tiny bit too much wide into turn 1, maybe taking a track limit and a slowdown. No, it doesn't get a slowdown, but it certainly loses the position. And now Picardi is back into the lead, and now we could see on the uphill section, just prior to the bus stop, what could happen. Is going to be a dive for Palacio Rodriguez. No, it's not going to be a dive for the Spanish driver. The BMW remains ahead, still in the lead, This was actually a very poor exit from Palacio Rodriguez. Number 22 just lost some time from number 10, number 30. Blue on black. Yeah, it's number 30, apologies. And yeah, for now the 22 remains behind. But back into the GT3 Pro, Daniel Murphy will get the lead as the Aston Martin driver will jump into the pits as quickly as possible. Into the pit limiter he goes, so Murphy now back into the lead. Jeffrey Ross will follow in second. 3.2 for Murphy, 2.7 for Ross. Ultimately, it was a sort of terrible lap for Murphy as Ross gained a lot of temps there. It's going to be important how the pit stop phase goes on for these drivers. Effectively, everything could change with the next stop. In the meantime, Ross just gained another 1 or 2 temps in the uphill section, in the straight, in the back straight. But ultimately, Ross will remain behind into the air. Also loses some more time. I think, George, these two may have come down a bit. Ultimately, they are waiting for the pit stop phase to start. And also, Denier goes into third because he goes into the pits, that's why. And the Dutch driver is the first of the sequence in GTP.
Quinton Verdonk was harassing him for that whole stint, though, so Denis was really under pressure for that whole stint and managed to stay ahead of the champion. It's going to be interesting what happens after this pit cycle. I think with this 90-minute race, we may see some of the GTB cars taking tyres. So actually, let's test that. Let's just watch.
Could you please check the pit entry from Broden?
Just check and see if Denis, and he does go up on the jack, so it's tyres for Denis in this second stop of the race. Ten-second time penalty for Federico Sarta. That's for running into the side of Diego Palcio. We saw that when we looked back. At least I think that's what that's for. Haven't seen any other contact for that car come up. Diego threatening the BMW a little bit here, but I think this is going to be potentially the pit lap for these two cars. And it will be for both of them. We're going to get a battle on pit road. Timon Scholten has passed Mick Sayan out on track. DLR versus DLR. And I don't think he was going to hold up the once race leader. Here is his teammate. Both of these drivers now in their box. Up onto the jacks, crucially, for the Mercedes. And I don't think the BMW is going up.
So now Vesga is also into the pits with a change of tires, and that's Picardi and Palacio Rodriguez also following, so both of them with the same strategy. And also the pit stop. I think Picardi had a way quicker pit stop compared to his rival.
Yeah, I don't think Picardi took tyres though. So if Picardi didn't take tyres, this is going to get interesting because he's going to be able to pull away a little bit now on those warm tyres, and then it's going to come back towards Rodriguez. Didn't look like he was in the air. Someone could, in race control, could check that and confirm that. That'd be much appreciated.
Car number 10 for pit lane line on the entry.
Oh, Jeffrey Ross calling out Daniel Morphy on his pit entry, suggesting that he thinks he was slightly over. Let's take a look. And he was.
Oh yeah, this was over.
See what race
100%.
control think. I'm not quite sure exactly how they're judging it, whether you have to be, whether your tyres are allowed to touch the line, if they have to be entirely over. Rodriguez picks up a black flag. Oh, and he was in the wall. What happened?
Oh. Into the wall there.
There's already been a previous crash, I think, on this lap. This is Rodriguez into the chicane on the cold tyres. Bobbers a curb. That's not a problem. Exit. It's all good here. Oh, loses the rear end.
The left-hander after the bus stop.
chooses to get rolling. That's a black flag for hitting incident limits. He's now on 25x. So the driver that was looking in a great position to potentially win this race, and he went for another spin and caught Stanek out. And I think race control will not be very happy with that and will maybe deem that actually he was driving in an unsafe condition. Another angle.
I believe that's before I saw these now under investigation. If I'm not looking at the race.
Yeah. Oh, big hit for Stanek. Who could have done nothing there.
It was way too close for one of the Porsches too. I think that was Verdonk going extremely close to the car that was sideways in the middle of the racetrack.
I think race control are in discussions with Quinton Verdonk over a potential unsafe rejoin. I think that's that discussion. Raymond Denise, by the way, has pit cycled out 2.5 seconds behind Quinton Verdonk. After Quinton went a little bit longer, so Quinton playing the long game there, getting in the clean air and putting some good laps in. Jeffrey Ross did well in that pit cycle to come out over half a second ahead, and it's now 1.5 seconds. And that's Daniel Morphy going off in the background. Oh, and there's damage on the rear end of the BMW for Daniel Morphy, who's going to have to come in for repairs. So unfortunate for the driver that was fighting for the lead.
Because I remember one of the two changed tires, one of the two between the Porsche and the BMW driver, but I can't remember if it was the Porsche changing tires or the BMW. I think it was the Porsche on this on stance, but you have to correct me if it isn't the case.
Yeah, I can't remember, but it potentially, and those tyres are getting towards the end of their life on that BMW, and that is really unfortunate for Daniel Morphy, because that's going to send him to the back of the field. Driver that was fighting for the lead, and it gets even better for Leon Erger. Just waiting to see if some penalties are going to come through for a few drivers as well for pit lane entry infringements. Not seen anything come through yet. I know there are a few that are under investigation. I'll let you know if anything comes through. Diego Palcio Rodriguez has retired from the race. Patrick Stanek still in the pit lane serving penalty, doing repairs actually, I believe.
I mean, whatever penalty happens for Morphy is not going to really impact the race classification in any case. Morphy is now 6th, so he's definitely off the table for a race podium even. And if the penalty for crossing the line on pit entry also goes through, it's going to be another chunk of seconds lost for the number 24. So everything really went from the top to bottom for the number 24, unfortunately. And a lot of incidents happening in this phase, and I think actually all of the last incidents happened because of new tires, which is very odd. The first thing, nothing happened, and now things are definitely different. I wonder if the marbles on track could have caused certain off tracks.
Yeah, a lot of people struggling, like you say, and Daniel Morphy with that big slide, which we haven't taken another look at. I'm trying to find it. It's just an awful lot that's gone on in the last few laps. This is Daniel Morphy entering the pit lane, and that's just a little bit too early, unfortunately. If this will get us to the right place, I think it will.
Yeah, the rear end, look at that.
We'd already got damage on the rear end of the car though there. There was a 2x earlier in the lap for Daniel Morphy that we missed. I think this is where Daniel Morphy's going to get the damage, and that'll be why. He was missing the... Well, he was momentarily missing the rear wing, but he was missing a big part of rear bodywork. And actually, he was in the lead when that happened. Take a look again. Daniel Morphy from the lead. As Jeffrey Ross lucky to avoid contact there as the car bounced off the wall. And that's what cost him the lead. And that's actually what allowed Leon Erger to get back past Jeffrey Ross. Was Jeffrey Ross having to avoid Daniel Morphy.
That really explains then why he went wide into the last... well, even Sehen with a orange meatball flag. Something happened to Dutch driver. Nick Sehen here. Same place. I think so. Unless it was a contact with the GTP.
Oh, it was contact with the GTP.
Into the wall, and yeah, that was the car with a lot of damage on the left was suspension damage for him. And I couldn't pinpoint who that one was.
I think that's
Can see
Federico
the number.
Sarta, is it? It's one of the
Sarta?
Cadillacs.
Yeah, that will be certainly a penalty for the GTP.
Yeah, it is Federico Sarta, who already has a 10-second penalty.
This has been practically an elimination race, considering all the incidents that have happened. The majority of which for cold tires, because I'm pretty sure now that the Porsche was actually fuel only, and the input driver was actually on the stands, because it was opposite of what we saw earlier, where the car in front, which was at the time Luca Picardi, was not changing tires compared to his rival, that was Palacio Rodriguez, who is not in the race anymore. So effectively, my theory at this point is that cold tires plus the track losing temperature, plus the marbles, brought some drivers to maybe overdo, and ultimately they found the wall. Nearly all of them that went a bit too far found the wall. Now Daniel Murphy is a second behind Callum Lux, who also was involved in an incident early on during the race, but that's 6th place compared to the leader he was having earlier on.
Oh, and
Oh,
Callum
it's a wall.
Lux rubs against a wall, and that's going to allow Daniel Morphy through easier than he would have thought.
It's a position nevertheless, so Murphy would be happy with it. Let's see if it
This
was
is
the
what
wall
happened to
or only
Callum
the grass.
Lux. Just caught the wall,
Just a
I
brush.
think. Just a small tap. I don't think he'll have got any significant damage.
No, probably just also lift off, considering it's not his race. Lux pitted way earlier and probably will require another pit stop toward the end, or he will be considerably slower anyway, considering he will have to either save fuel or he has more fuel. So it wasn't his race. Daniel Murphy now in 5th, 6 seconds behind Rafael Heck. But again, there is a possible penalty pending on his name for pit lane line infringement, and if that goes through, it's going to be another chunk of seconds lost for the former leader of the GT3 Pro class. Meanwhile here, that's Mark Frederick and Brody Maynard. This battle has been going on since the second stint. We're now into the third. And Maynard is only just a handful of temps behind his rival. That lost a lot of time compared to where he was earlier. He was battling with Denier and Verdonk early on, and now he's 8 seconds behind. And now there is a deposit for the 83 that actually seemed like a dive, but ultimately it was just an idea, and the perspective of the camera put me in a false step. It was quite a good... Oh, that was very close between the two. It was a good gap between the two drivers. And Brody Maynard 2 temps behind. Into the bus stop he goes. Remember, these cars, as I said earlier, are very much aero sensitive. So this means that actually following another car in dirty air becomes quite difficult, because you have to be in clean air to get the most out of it. It's not like the GT cars where you can stay behind and the dirty air doesn't really affect you. In the GTP category, you really prefer to have clean air. Dirty air doesn't really help your lines. And the black flag for Daniel Morphy.
Daniel Morphy, I think that's
Black
going to
flag.
be for a pit lane entry infringement. Yeah, it's a drive-through for an unsafe pit entry for Daniel Morphy. If it couldn't have got any worse, it has, and I think Brody Maynard will be seeing that and panicking a little bit because someone reported him as well. Let's go back and take a look at Brody's pit entry. That one doesn't look as bad from that angle.
Oh, no, it is. I think it was speeding, maybe. It was sideways.
Well, I don't think he needs to worry about that, so I don't know, maybe he went wide a little bit earlier on in the pit lane. Let's not worry about that too much for now, because right now he's looking to make an impression on the car ahead, and he had a good run through turn 1. He's pushing up the hill. There might be an opportunity here for him to get the move. Both him, Brody picking up an off-track through turn 1 that time by. We're just about to hit the hour mark in about 30 seconds. Can Brody make it P4 once again? Porsche goes to the outside, the BMW defends the inside, they're side by side. Brody takes an awful big chunk of curb. They're still side by side on the exit, but the Porsche has the speed to take P4 away from Mark Frederick. And Morpy's in to serve his drive-through penalty.
It was very difficult for Maynard. He went on the outside to make it through. And yet he did. He managed to get in front of Frederick as the drive-through also got cleared. And now Maynard's next objective is 11 seconds up. So I'm not really sure he can get there. But ultimately, I think Denier is targeting something different.
I think
as
remember...
is in second now.
Crucial to remember as well that Third Plug is an invitational entry, so would be the race winner, but would not take the points for race winner. And actually all of these drivers, when they're thinking about points, can move themselves a whole position up the board. So Brady Maynard essentially moves up to P3 in class with that move.
Yeah, but in the last lap it was also another 10th being cut in the gap. So it was... early on it was 1.7 and at the line it was 1.6, and that's Maynard's back flag for I suppose the entry that we saw earlier. The pit lane entry. I'm starting to think that maybe him going sideways could have been a trigger for that, but that's going to be a drive-through anyway. So Frederick gains back his 4th place. Maynard will end up probably behind Sartor actually. 20-something seconds. Yeah, he should be behind Sartor.
So we might get another little battle then. Ivan Veska is all over the back of Nicoli Monti, the pro driver, who's struggling a little bit in this race. And actually goes wide there, and that's going to allow Veska to have an opportunity, maybe. No, not quite into the final corner. But he gets down the inside of the final corner, and they're going to go side by side down the main straight into turn 1. And Veska is going to get the move done on the pro car. Still 13 seconds behind Luca Picardi. Remember, Veska had that contact and spin.
Brody Maynard.
Mark Frederick just reported Brody Maynard for his pit entry to serve his penalty. Not sure what that was about. Patrick Stanek has gone for a spin in the final corner.
I have found a flaw with our drive-through system, with our system of given drive-throughs.
Sounds like Brady Maynard has done an unsafe pit entry while coming in to serve his penalty. Or at least that is what the report is for. He has cleared that one, so we'll see if another one is handed out to him. Yeah, now it is officially under investigation that Brody Maynard may have had another unsafe pit entry. Which is just very unfortunate for Brody to get an unsafe pit entry penalty, and he is given another penalty for an unsafe pit entry, Brody Maynard. Let me just see if we can get a replay of that pit entry from above. And that is not from above, we will go again. Not sure what this is for, it must be earlier in the corner on his way into taking the line that under investigation for. He is serving that once again. Worth noting there are a couple of people who are getting pretty close to the incident limit in this race. I believe it's 18 or 19x race control. Could you please remind me? For a drive-through penalty. And there are a lot of people that are getting pretty close to that. A lot of people fighting for decent positions getting pretty close to that as well. So we'll keep an eye on that. Maynard has now cleared that black flag and hopefully he does not get another one. Patrick Stanek has just been black flagged again. I'm not sure what that one is for. I think that might be incident limit. Very calm out there now. We've got one last pit cycle left to do. Stanek drive-through, not from us, so race controls have added an incident limit. Drive-through for Patrick Stanek. Normally be at this point in the race, I'd be encouraging you to go and buy an entry for next season, but unfortunately we will be taking a little bit of a break next season from the IMSA series. We do plan on putting on some smaller events and maybe a couple of fun races, potentially a short endurance race, multi-driver race. So if you do want to find out what's happening, you can always head over to the website, but also join the Discord to get all of the latest news. The Discord is linked in the description below. Head over there and you'll get announcements and all information on any upcoming events. We do plan on being back for some form of sports car series in season 2 of 2026. We will be taking a short break next season.
Andy, please check if the link with blue flag, please.
Ivan Vesker is not happy with somebody serving blue flags, and that's his car in front, because Ivan Vesker is running P2, 11 seconds behind Luca Picardi, and he thinks this Aston Martin needs to get out of the way. He is now ahead, and we have got pit cycles now coming through for a lot of our drivers, so Brody Maynard will be at risk once again. Doesn't mind me saying, I'm sure. The DLR car does not want to give up the position, but Ivan Vesker is still ahead, despite the Aston Martin showing his nose once again. Leon Erger, Dave Van Eck into the pit lane from GT3 Pro. Your race leader, I believe, Leon Erger. Crucial to see where Jeffrey Ross pit cycles out relative to Leon Erger after these guys have all pitted. We'll really see where everyone levels out after what should be the final stops of the race, bar any damage or any misfueling, anything like that. Feels like we used up all of our action in those really close races, doesn't it, Christian? With the for the pro lead and for the AM lead, we had some great battles. We've all calmed down a little bit now.
But not so quick, because now there is the battle for 15 GT3 Pro. As Rafael Ek and Carlo Lux are just kept by a single second, 0.2. And Giants Brothers competition, free here, could actually still be in the game for giving us some more show, certainly. As we are now 21 minutes away from the end of the race. And there's also a battle in GTP. We've got Verdonk and Denier with it. So ultimately there isn't a gap available for us to keep in check. But
yeah, Danita's...
It was...
Danita's just come in for his pit stop.
20-second time penalty. 20-second time penalty for Sartor.
Yeah,
collision in lap number 3.
That's GTP versus GT3, so he's hit a lower class car race control field. That's a 20-second time penalty. Raymond Denit is in for his pit stop, but like I say, Quinton Verdonk was close. Quinton Verdonk, by the way, is closed in an awful lot on the race lead. That was a much greater lead at one point, and actually took 1.5 seconds last lap out of the race leader. So he wants the on-track win as well as the points win. Timon Scholten and Nicole Monti going at it again. Timon Scholten in the pro class. In the AM class. Nicole Monti in the bottom of the pro class. Timon Scholten trying to find a way around. Race leader and P2 both into the pit lane. Interesting to see where they cycle out relative to Raymond Denit. Timon Scholten's going to come into the pit lane this time round. Keeps it within the lines, at least from what we can see. Denit just coming down through the boot now. Quite open right-hander here. You can use a lot of the exit if you want. Denit chooses not to. It's going to go through the hairpin. We've mentioned a couple of times being very difficult, and towards the end of the race I think these tyres really will start to struggle. As our race leader is now rolling in pit lane, as is Quinton Verdonk, so they're going to come out with a nice bit of buffer ahead of Denit, I would imagine. A fair bit of buffer because they're already going through turn 2 now. Quinton Verdonk has gained even more through that pit cycle, must have had a shorter stop. I'll tell you how long he was in the pit lane. Actually, the pit lane time was about the same. Quinton Verdonk must have just made a great job on the entry and on the exit. Only 3 seconds back now of Plug. He's going to push on, try and make an impression towards the end of this race and take back the position on track.
I think Verdonk can still have a chance at winning this race, to be fair. Even if ultimately Plug is not considered in the point. But a race win is a race win. And Quinton Verdonk here for Vulcan. And behind, obviously, Raymond Denier also in this battle. You can see in the bottom of the screen, the only lap in which Niet was quicker was lap number 42. In the last laps, obviously the last 2 laps don't really count considering the pit stop happened. But it's very close between the two. But this one, it was the one I was referring to 6 times, then 5 times, then 1.0. I remember that Plug and Verdonk pitted at the very same lap. Ultimately, Verdonk has been having a way better third stint compared to the second, at least. Anyway, this lap 0.5, 2 times cut. This was the off lap from the pit stop phase, and this really proved my point that Verdonk could actually have the win of the overall race, even physically, not only in terms of points. Although the championship is already over, speaking about points, so effectively the one thing that counts is the result on track, on the American soil here, as track is in the New York State and used in every single competition, and we saw multiple times that it's not over till it's over. We could also see a freeway battle for the lead at the very last lap, so everything still up for grabs. Ultimately, it's going to be interesting to see if they maybe change tires, because at this point my first assumption is that Plug had all tires compared to Verdonk. Maybe this final stint it could be different, but only the next lap will prove it. But the gap is already 2.8 seconds.
Continuing to take time out, yeah. Also,
yeah, exactly.
Jeffrey
I don't
Ross.
think we need to wait for it.
Jeffrey Ross was 3 seconds quicker in the pit lane than Leon Erger, and has come out just 1.6 behind after that pit cycle. So keep an eye on Jeffrey Ross as he gets his tyres back up to temperature and see what he can do in the next few laps, and maybe try and get within a second and challenge Leon for the lead.
Yeah, 3.2. It was a 3.5 for Denier. Ultimately, Verdonk is extending the gap to Denier. And more importantly, is cutting tremendously the gap to the leader of the race. The 401 and the 204 are certainly inbound for a last 15 minutes sprint race. The usual phrase that gets said during endurance rounds. Now it's a sprint race. Effectively, it is a 15-minute sprint race. I can expect 10 laps. No, maybe 9 actually, because of 2 seconds. So yeah, it should be 9 laps to go, and in these 9 laps, 2.5 seconds have to be cut into 0. It's going to be not a lot of time that actually has to be cut per lap. We are around 2 to 3 times, and if the average stays the same, we could have the battle in short of 5 laps, maybe even less. But all of a sudden, Plug is going very slow. I don't really know the reason for that.
No, I wonder if he's just stayed on those tyres for too long. I think Quinton probably changed his halfway through the race. We didn't see what Berg did, but he's really, really struggling for pace right now. Oh, Quinton hits the wall, though!
Did he?
I think he just did. Let's take a look.
Maybe. I think it was just grass, but maybe I'm mistaken. Oh no, it was. Actually, it was brushing into the wall.
That cost him a bit of time. He's just lost about 1.5 seconds at the end of that lap. It would be a crucial mistake.
Lost. This actually puts some more joy in Niet's eyes, as there could be something happening. Meanwhile, here we've got the battle for position. I think it is. Yes, it is Calm Lux and Daniel Murphy, with Murphy just 2 times behind Lux. There is also an incident being noted with 204 and 212. So Verdonk and...
I think that's already been declared a racing incident by race control now. Not sure what
Vicky.
we're looking at.
Yeah, but it's said that it's Vicky, which is the GT3 Pro in last place, and Verdonk being involved. So, I wonder what's the incident there. I suppose something around some wave around. Or about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it was the same incident where... this is why. Okay. Whoa, okay, and this is why Verdonk hit the wall, maybe? No.
No, this is why Verdonk lost a second and a half. Even if his opponent was into the wall. The second and a half was lost by Verdonk early on, as he also needed on the green by gaining a second 0.8, and that's the reason why Vicky is now Vicky's incident is now being seen nearly colliding between Murphy and Lux. Murphy in the BMW number 6th place for him, and Lux that ultimately giving up the 5th place for himself. Although it's clear that Murphy is quite aggressive. He wants to clear Lux as quickly as possible, even because there is a very slim, quite faint chance at getting even 4th place, being only 5.5 seconds up front. And as we saw earlier, with the gaps being cut by 4, even 5 times per lap, and 10 minutes or so to go, there could still be time. As you can see, defending very much inside. That's the Aston Martin number 3, trying whatever is possible here into the off section. With Aston that goes very wide, trying to defend the inside, and ultimately it's going to be Daniel Morphy into the inside line. A huge defense, although that was way much off track. But remember, Morphy already took a drive-through for track limits, so ultimately he is free to race. Callum looks now back on the offensive, now on the outside. He tries into turn 1, but nothing that can be done. Into the outside, maybe a cutback could work. He remains behind, and on the back straight, he has the slipstream advantage prior to the bus stop. Otherwise, the opportunity will probably just evaporate, and the top 5 will remain in Morphy's hands. And as now the BMW passes, that's the 401 in the lead of the entire race, and just behind, see, that's Quinten Verdonk in the 204, and into the bus stop, it's going to be Morphy ahead of Cam Lux. And no change inbound for the position. Never say never. Maybe the Porsche can ruin things up. As we can see here, another Porsche. This time it is a GT3 that lost control into the hairpin, into the wall, brush into the wall. Not too much to be lost there in terms of car performance. Certainly in terms of seconds.
Dave Van Eyck though was running P3, so that just puts.
Look at that real quick up the hill.
That just puts Daniel Morphy just 10 seconds behind Dave Van Eyck, which isn't too much of a threat, but Raphael Heck in between them has a 20-second time penalty. At the moment, Daniel Morphy will finish P4. If Dave Van Eyck needs to be very, very careful to the end of this race. He's on 14 incident points. He could risk a penalty if he's not too careful, if he takes too much risk.
The rear end was quite, well, not there for Dave Van Eyck coming into the last corner. I've seen the car just moving around a bit too rapidly, and there is a yellow flag. That's Alessandro for a moment that triggered a yellow flag, and also Brody Maynard. So, that's why. Vicky on.
And Brody got distracted by the spinning GT3, I think.
Yeah, both got into the incident at the same moment and in the same place on track, and that's also disconnection. Yeah, that's actually a DNF for the GTP driver. Meanwhile, here the Italian in a Mustang just went outside on his own and kept the car on track. So ultimately, he will continue to go on, but probably with some damage on the side of the car.
I think he's going to tow to the pit lane as he pulls over to tow.
No, never mind. Actually, yeah, that's another DNF.
Oh. Dave Van Eyck is off again.
That's the Dave Van Eyck off.
The damage on the rear of that Porsche. And it's unsettled over the curb. That's not what's going to be the problem. So what is going to... Oh, he just loses it through the high-speed corner. More damage on that Porsche. And this has put Daniel Morphy into P3 with the penalty for Raphael Heck. Race control, I need you to redo your calculations because you told me Morphy in P6 doesn't make a championship change. Doesn't Morphy in P3 make a championship change?
He's down the battle for the lead in GTP to 33.3 for Plug, 32.3, a second that was cut for the lead. As also there is the battle in GT3 IM with Luca Picardi that is trying to defend against Ivan Vesca that goes into the outside, into the final sector. But all of a sudden, Picardi doesn't really have the pace anymore. And the Lamborghini goes into the inside, tries to make it count for the lead. But ultimately, the Lamborghini driver still remains behind. The Italian in the BMW number 30 is still there and is not really letting go his first place. And into turn 1 is still going to be Picardi in front of Vesga. Last lap it was a 5.3 for Picardi, 5.0 for Vesga. And also at the same time there is the GTP possibly changing maybe. So it's going to be a race of who makes the overtake before the other. As it stands, it's going to be probably Ivan Vesga on the back straight, as also another GTP passes through. BMW defends the inside line with Lamborghini on the outside. And just when the overtake was about to happen. And that is, I haven't seen the number of the car that went into
This
spin
is a
into turn
wrong
number
move.
1.
Sorry, this is the move. The contact between the teammates who were fighting out for the lead. Was it contact? We're not quite sure yet. GT3 in front.
Oh yeah, it was a contact between the GT3 in front and the Porsche that was following Pug. So that's Verdonk now in the lead as third Plug and Raymond Denier are one after the other for second place. We were the 401 that lost the lead just now. And also there is the battle here position as Daniel Morphy and Callum Lux. Callum Lux that just had the fastest lap in GT3 Pro into the inside tries. Nothing that can be made here. And Daniel Morphy, number 24, that still remains in fourth place, which ultimately becomes third with a penalty applied to Rafael Heck. So this is the battle for the podium. And also there is Luca Picardi into the pits because of black flag limits. And also here there is the possible contact that led to the track limit violation with Lamborghini that went into the inside line. Contact with number 30.
I think he picked up an off-track during their battle in the bus stop chicane, and that's given him a drive-through penalty because he's hit the incident limit, and that's forced him to go into the pit lane.
As Plug also lost the second place, so now the third Plug is in third with Raymond Denier that gains second place. And this was the move, and once again it was the same car that blocked the
Catch what you actually said.
BMW driver. And ultimately Denier gets second place out of it. So I suspect there's going to be a lot of anger in the number 401's cockpit. But in the meantime, we'll follow the battle for the podium. Remember, this is podium as Rafael Heck as a penalty. Callum Lux set just a lap prior, the purple lap, so the fastest lap of the session. But he's not consistent enough, and now Daniel Morphy gained back some more time, 4 times gained compared to earlier. Now 392. Now maybe Dawson has a chance to throw the car into the inside into turn 1. As you can see, 2 times being lost on the last lap. It was a 2.8 for Morphy, but possibly even an off track, so that's why it wasn't a purple lap. No, apologies, that's because the purple lap was actually 2.4 set by Lux the lap earlier into lap number 47. And now the Aston Martin can still make it count into the bus stop. Final few minutes of the race, 3 minutes to go. So this means about 2 laps to the end, maybe 3 if the timing is lucky enough. Well, lucky for the Aston Martin driver, not so much for the BMW driver. Now the fans, oh, there are 3 cars going around into the same corner with Aston Martin of Callum Lux. The number 3 has to stay on the left with the BMW on the right, trying to defend against both David Occhetto and ultimately even the Aston Martin that follows him in the same class. These 2 cars were Mark Frederick and David Occhetto battling for 4th place. As now Daniel Morphy is back in front of his rival, the number 3 and the number 24. While up ahead you can see the Porsche that was trying something cheeky, and David Occhetto.
He's going to get a run here because the BMW was wide in the hairpin, and the BMW has to go defensive. Frederick keeps to the inside line. We've got a GT3 on the outside line, and that is the way it's been all day with the multi-class. And Davide Occhetto, can he get a run down into turn 1? You wouldn't think so, but he needs to try and line the move up into the bus stop chicane. Keeping an eye on this while we watch Callum Lux on the timing, because Callum Lux has got a really good run here up the hill, and I think there's maybe a move going to be on for Callum Lux. Remember, this is the battle for the podium with the penalty that Rafael Heck has got. Rafael Heck is only a second up the road. He could easily end up getting involved in this battle as well, as Callum Lux is going to go to the outside. Does Daniel Morby have enough speed on the inside to stick ahead? He's definitely got enough to stick his wheel in, and Callum Lux sends it in to stay ahead, but he goes off on the grass, and Daniel Morphy has to go a little bit wide to avoid any risk of contact. Frederick and Occhetto are swapping positions as well, I think. Oh, and I think there's been contact, and I think there's Oh, there's that big cars and Callum Lux collects the damaged Porsche.
What the fuck?
That was David Occhetto.
Well, Lux is surely going to try and drag this to the end anyway, because he's only, if he stays within 20 seconds, he's only going to have to do one lap with the damage. But this is what happened with Frederick and Occhetto. Frederick lost the rear end there, and Occhetto is then going to try and get a run. But what's going to go wrong here that these two have contact? Oh, Occhetto sends it down the inside into the side of the BMW. Both of them with damage. And it looks like Callum Lux just really unfortunate when he came across this. Let's take another look and see Callum just on the outside, nowhere for him to go. He wouldn't have seen that Porsche until he got round the corner.
Doesn't even have a wheel anymore.
And he is going to stay out, I think.
Daniel,
or is he going to come in? Yeah, he's going to stay out because it's going to be white flag, so he might as well try and drag this thing round now.
Then more people may also get a position on track, even without the penalty applied to Rafael Eck. But yeah, Occhetto really went for the dive there on Mark Frederick on the hairpin. It was way too optimistic. And in the meantime, Daniel goes into the inside of the bus stop. Last possible overtake of the race, and that's the BMW number 24 that gets ahead of Rafael Eck. And the Dutch driver is now effectively in third place, even without Eck's penalty taken into account. And Quinten Verdonk wins the final round of the season with Raymond Denier just behind and Sad Plug completing in first place in GTP.
Yeah, the championship winner wins the final race of the season. He'll be happy with that. His teammate on his brilliant debut managed to come home in third. He'll be slightly disappointed with that, but he'll take it. Callum Lux just has dropped outside of 20 seconds of Raphael Heck, so he's tried to sort of hang on with one wheel on the front axle, but he's not going to be able to stay within the 20-second time penalty that the car ahead of him has, unfortunately for him. So it will be P5 at best for Callum Lux. His contact is declared a racing incident. I think there's probably going to be a few penalties for race control to review. Carlos Boza Poya will win this race because Ben Groneveld has come across the line in P2. Leon Erger came across the line in first place. I'm not sure if he had 21 incident points, but I think he must have already served the drive-through at some point. But he will at least come across the line in first. We'll check that nothing else has changed. There's a bit of a demolition derby happening in turn 1. Jeffrey Ross came home to finish in P2, and I believe that is enough for him to secure the championship. Ivan Beska will win in GT3 AM because he's managed to avoid a drive-through penalty, which is what he'll have been focusing on in his last few laps, because he's just one penalty point away from that, but he has avoided it and played it safe to come home in P1 after an eventful race. There are a lot of people in that field that could have potentially won that race. Daniel Morphy does not jump Vincent Ossoms, I've just been told as well, so Vincent Ossoms will finish P2 and Daniel Morphy will finish P3. We believe we will confirm the full standings at some point. It's all of your race winners. Quinten Verdonk, Raymond Denis and Saad Plug make up your podium in GTP. Carlos Bozapoya wins ahead of Ben Groneveld in LMP2. Leon Erger wins in GT3 Pro ahead of Jeffrey Ross, Daniel Morphy. About 5 people that could have won in GT3 Pro. The same can be said for GT3 AM.
And just a
Team and
reminder,
Sholton, Luca Picardi, Ivan Veska all led the race in AM at one point, as did Diego Palcho Rodriguez, who is out of the race and will not score any points, unfortunately, as it's just getting more and more chaotic in turn 1. And let's run you through our full race results, which I believe are now available.
Just to accelerate the moment the pace car peels off. Never mind the green flag, you should already be...
Quinten Verdonk was your race winner. As I said, Raymond Denis, Saad Plug make up your podium. Federico Sartor will score the points for the podium because Saad Plug will not score points.
yeah, and the
Mark
next
Frederick.
for IMSA series.
Mark Frederick will finish in P5 ahead of Davide Occhetto. They had a close battle towards the end of the race, and Brody Maynard will come home in P7, 6 laps down. GT3 Pro race was won, of course, by Leon Erger ahead of Jeffrey Ross, Daniel Morphy, who had a brilliant second half of that race after he got damage on his after his second stop, I believe. He picked up big damage with a spin, but to recover to third place, he'll be pretty pleased with that, I think. Raphael Heck in P4, Callum Lux P5, Nicole Monti in P6, Eck, Vici, Herford and Ossoms make up your top 10, with Herford and Ossoms not scoring points. GT3 AM race was run by Ivan Vesker ahead of Luca Picardi, Pete Preens, Tiemann Scholten, Mick Sayan and Patrick Stanek and Paggio Rodriguez. He did fight for the win, but got damage and a drive-through, chose to retire from the race. And LMP2 was won by Carlos Bozapoya ahead of Ben Groneveld and Vincent van der Mullenbrugge, who did not complete the full race distance. Brody, I can see you're in the call. I don't know if you have permission to drag people down, but I'm going to... Yeah, actually, let's do this. I'll interview you while I track down some other people. Not the race you would have wanted today, but still not a pretty exciting race, I still feel like, for you. I know you had the damage at the end, and you finished early, but what was it like racing out there? It looked pretty chaotic and pretty close all race in all of the classes.
It really did. I mean, whenever we come here, it's always fun. It's always exciting to watch. I didn't do any practice coming into this round, which is the first time in a while, and I didn't expect to have any pace at all. So for me to be able to fight up in the early stages with Mark and Quinton, and then to continue that with Mark later on the race, it was quite nice, actually.
It was really good, and obviously you missed a couple of rounds this season, but you were the AM champion a couple of seasons ago, and still some good performances this season, so it's been great to have you with us this season, and I'm sure we'll see you again at some point.
Yeah, definitely.
Carlos, we'll go to you next. You're our LMP2 champion and winner of all but one races. What was it like out there today? It looked pretty chill, your race, relative to some of the others we saw, just consistent and fairly clean.
Good night, everyone. First of all, thank you for the championship, an amazing organization. So I'm very grateful for that. And yeah, this race was calm. As you know, there wasn't participation in this race, so only 3 LMP2. But yeah, I tried to manage as I could, just finish the race and keep my pace. That I felt very confident in this track. And yeah, I'm very happy with the result, with the championship, and I hope to repeat the next season.
Yeah, well, it's been absolutely great to have you, and congratulations on the championship, and I'm sure we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Jeffrey, GT3 Pro champion, obviously only P2 in today's race. It was a pretty intense race in GT3 Pro, though I think we had several people that were in contention at different stages of the race. But how does it feel to be champion?
Good, happy. Lucky that I got a car on track this race and just managed to drive my own race.
Yeah, there was a lot going on. I'm sure you noticed Daniel Morphy had a big spin at one point as well. Leon had a great pace, but yeah, you did pretty good. I think you picked up a fair amount of instant points. Although actually, I'm looking, a lot of these were after the race finished in the little.
Yeah, the car was very hard to drive, so I just took it easy. Did my own race with fuel saving from the start on, and I just didn't push at all. I didn't knew that I had to keep the top 3.
Well, I think that's what Andy said to me pre-race was, as long as you scored some decent points, especially with Vincent out early on, you were in pretty good position. So smart call to take it careful and just do what you needed to do.
The car was so sketchy in the high speeds, I just didn't that courage to push.
Yeah. All right. Well, congratulations on the championship, and
thank you.
Well done on a few wins this season and a podium to finish it out.
Yes, sounds good. Thanks a lot for the organization, for the great fun, and I hope to see each other soon.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. Quinton, GTP champion, race winner today. Obviously, you didn't get to do it on track against your teammate, but I guess it's pretty nice to round out the season with a win.
Yeah, that's true. Although, again, it would have been a bit more fun to have an on-track battle instead of what happened.
Yeah, I completely understand that. Champion again, though, must feel pretty nice.
Yeah, compared to last season, it feels a bit more rewarding, as both Davey and Raymond were a lot better and they were there for most of this season.
Yes, yeah, and you had a pretty exciting race today. I know you didn't get to take the win on track, but there were a fair amount of overtakes that were needed. I think you started P4 in the end and had to do a fair few overtakes in the race as well.
Yeah, pretty much. Although in the end, it was quite fun actually. I was expecting a safety car for some reason with the cold tires, but surprisingly, no one crashed, but...
I was also very surprised that nothing went wrong in lap 1. Because I was sure it was going to go wrong. So it was very surprising, yeah.
Considering there's a bit of a history around here, yeah.
Yeah, we've had. I think this is the only place where we've had a safety car in ASR in the IMSA series. All right, well, congratulations, Quinton, and I'm sure we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, until the next season, that'll happen.
Yeah,
okay.
It'll happen. I'm sure we will happen. Like we said, a break next season, but we will be back. Luca, GT3 AM champion. How does that feel?
Yeah, I'm very happy about it. Back-to-back champion. These are my first 2 championship overall in my sim racing career, so I'm very happy about that. I'm very happy to have done that here on a racing and in this championship. And of course, I'm feeling very well because it's maybe the start of a very good, how can I say, a very good project for me.
Yeah, well, the pace has been great for both of the last 2 seasons. Obviously, finished P2 today after getting that drive-through penalty. We saw you struggling for pace a little bit. Did you stay on the same set of tyres for the whole race?
Yeah, I stayed on the same set for the whole race, and in the last 2 stints, I've got damage on the left front suspension, so it was quite undrivable in the last.
Yeah, we didn't know about the damage. That makes more sense. Yeah. Well, congratulations for holding on with suspension damage to still a P2. It's a pretty good result.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, congratulations on the championship. 2 in a row and the podium today. I'm sure we'll see you again soon.
Thanks to you and for all the work here in commentary and to make this championship possible.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll pass that on to Race Control as well. We've got 4 people in Race Control today, so we all say thank you to them. That's Amy and Andy. And Alice, our usual co-commentator in there.
If you're hearing, thank you, Amy and Andy. And just a quick reminder.
All right, well, thank you very much, Luca. Christian, it's been brilliant to have you with us today. Highlight of the race, can you pick one? That's normally what I do to put Alice on the spot.
I think the moment where there were literally 3 class battles at once. I think that was the highlight of the moment where there were the 3 battles in 3 different classes, so GTP, GT3, IM, GT4, all at once, and you couldn't really choose one because otherwise you others. That was certainly the moment of the race, but ultimately it was nice because nearly every single lap there was something happening. I think we only had like 2 laps in which nothing really happened. Otherwise it was chase, overtake action, or incident.
There was points where there was too much going on. Like you said, we had the battle, 3 different class battles at the same time, and I was trying to work out which one to watch because there was just so much going on. So yeah, it was a really, really exciting race today. Maybe we should just have a championship where it's just these cars at Watkins Glen every week because that was pretty good. Thank you to, quickly thank you to Brody, who's in the call, one of our drivers, but he's joined me in commentary a couple of times in qualifying to talk us through what it's like to drive the GTP in qualifying during our GT3 and LMP2 sessions. So thank you, Brody. We spoke to you a few moments ago, but thank you for that. I'm sure we'll see you again soon. Obviously a member of the ASR community. And while I'm on that subject, if anybody's interested in joining a team, Brody and myself, but mainly Brody, is trying to get our ASR team back up and running a little bit more, so we have some more teams entered in special events and some more flexibility on drivers. So if anybody is interested in that, head over to the Discord and either open a ticket or drop a message to myself or Brody, and we'll get you all set up. Christian, thanks for joining me once again for that final round of the season. It was great to have you with us. Lots of energy. I really loved that. And I'm sure we'll love to have you back again soon. And thanks to everybody at home that joined us for all of these rounds and has watched the highlights that Amy puts together occasionally. That's also great if you go and watch them and share them. It really does help us out on getting some more views on YouTube. And big thank you to all of our drivers who have come up and showed up every week, particularly Carlos Bozapoya, turning up every week in LMB2, as I believe did Ben Gronevel. So it was great to see. At least we were able to keep that class going after so many people asked for it to come back. Also, big shout out to Alice, who's been for most of the races this season to help me commentate. And then big shout out to Andy and Amy as well, who do a lot of behind the scenes work as well as the broadcasting work. And I know me and Andy, Andy's going to do a big favour for me and get me lined up to do all of the prize payments at the end of the season. So thanks to everybody that's made this work. We've done 11 seasons. Like I said, we are going to have a break next season before we come back with something similar but potentially slightly new, when we may do a couple of special events in the season 1 of next year. Once again, thanks to everybody that joined us, and we'll see you next time.